metabolic waste elimination from kidneys, that forms our excretory system, right? Elimination of metabolic waste, mostly nitrogenous waste, from our body through kidney, that is called excretory system, right? So today I'm going to cover the topic of parts of nephron, and here in this I will cover pathway of blood and the pathway of filtrate. Now whatever oxygenated blood is being transferred from lungs to the kidneys, how that pathway is different from the pathway of our wastes, our filtrate, right? How that waste is getting eliminated out differently from the pathway of our blood, right? So I will cover in this only the pathways. In the other videos, I will cover how the tubular secretion and tubular reabsorption takes place in kidneys, as well as the mechanism of urine formation. So here only I am covering the two pathways. So first of all, let me tell you what are the parts of nephrons. First of all, we have renal artery, that is bringing the blood from the lungs into the kidneys. So this is renal artery. Then we have G. G is glomerulus. It is a body of capillaries, right? This is afferent arteriole, this thick branch. And then we have efferent arteriole, a narrow branch, right? This cup-shaped structure is the Bowman's cavity, right? Bowman's capsule. Then we have this tubular structure. This is the proximal convoluted tubule. Then the proximal convoluted comes down and it makes a loop. This loop is called, U-shaped loop is called loop of Henle. Now this loop of Henle is divided into descending limb of loop of Henle and ascending limb of loop of Henle. Now these two limbs are further divided into the thick segment of the descending limb of loop of Henle and thin segment of descending limb of loop of Henle. Now in the ascending limb, again we have the thick segment and the thin segment. Now we have distal convoluted tubule. This DCT is distal convoluted tubule. Now we have this structure that is called collecting tubule, right? Now all these parts are covered in the cortex region, right? And in the medullary region we have the collecting duct. This final duct is collecting duct and the duct of Bellini. These two ducts are covered in the medullary part of our whole nephron system, right? And in the cortex region, we have all these tubules. Again, loop of Henle also is covered in the medullary part of our nephron system, right? So, this was all the structure, the parts of nephrons. Now, I will tell you the pathway of filtrate. Now, can you see? First of all, I will tell you the pathway of filtrate, right? So whatever metabolic wastes are coming, most of the filtration is taking place in glomerulus. I repeat, in glomerulus, glomerular filtration takes place and the filtrate is then transferred into proximal convoluted tubule. This black arrows you can see, this is the pathway of filtrate, right? Then the filtrate is going down to the thick segment of descending limb, and then we have thin segment of the descending limb. This is the loop of Henle, thin segment of ascending limb, and then the thick segment of the ascending limb of loop of Henle. Now the filtrate goes into the distal convoluted tubule. Next the filtrate goes into and finally collects itself into the collecting tubule. Now these all parts are covered in the cortical region, right? Then from the collecting tubule it goes down into the collecting duct. Now this is in the medullary part, right? And from the collecting duct it goes into the duct of Bellini. This is also in the medullary region, right? Loop of Henle was also in the medullary region. finally this is eliminated out. This filtrate is eliminated out, right? So now this was the pathway of filtrate. Mostly whatever filtrate, whatever waste is there, that is transferred from these parts of nephron and finally it is eliminated out, right? But what is the pathway of blood? The both pathways are not mixed. They are different, right? Now the pathway of blood I have shown with the blue arrows from the renal artery. Now blood is coming from the renal artery. This is the renal artery. It goes into this afferent arteriole. This is a thick branch. This is afferent arteriole. From afferent arteriole, it goes into the glomerulus, right? Glomerulus is a body of capillaries. Now from here, the blood goes, okay, and it is gone into the efferent arteriole. Here, you can see the blue arrow. Here, the blood is there in the efferent arteriole. Now from efferent arteriole, this blood forms a network. Now this dotted structures, blue dotted structures you can see is a network of blood, of capillaries, that is called peritubular capillary network, right? I denote it as PCN. Now the blood is forming a network, peritubular capillary network, and this network is all along the parts of nephron. It is along the proximal convoluted tubule, it is also along the distal convoluted tubule, and it is also parallel to the loop of Henle, right? This peritubular capillary network, these dotted blue lines is all along the parts of nephron, in the PCT region, in the DCT region, and also parallel to the loop of Henle. See, here the loop of Henle is down and these are the parallel peritubular capillary network, and this is also parallel to the limbs of the loop of Henle. Now these peritubular capillary network of blood capillaries, it forms a vasa recta, right? It forms a structure, it forms a capillary network that is called vasa recta in the medullary region. Now this vasa recta finally forms a renal vein, renal venule, and it finally goes into the renal vein, right? So the blood which is coming from the lungs into the renal artery to the afferent arteriole to the efferent arteriole, the blue arrows forms a peritubular capillary network. From peritubular capillary network in the medullary region, all along parallel to the loop of Henle, this network finally forms vasa recta in the medullary region. Now this vasa recta which is finally being formed of the capillary network, this joins to form renal venule, and then the blood goes from the vasa recta, it joins to form renal venule, and from these renal venule the blood goes out through the renal vein. So this pathway of blood is separate from the pathway of filtrate. Most of the filtration of the waste is taking place here in the glomerular region, and then when the filtration has occurred, rest of the filtrate from the black arrows you can see is transferred from loop of Henle, from PCT to loop of Henle to DCT, finally to collecting tubule, and finally to collecting duct and the duct of Bellini, and it is passed out. So pathway of filtrate in black arrow is different from the pathway of blood in blue arrow, and this is the parts of nephron, right? So here I have covered just the two pathways. The other mechanism of urine formation will be covered in the next video. Thank you.